Well, we've come down here for a final look. It's about 20 to 6, and the sun is just setting behind us.
Je kunt hem wel beter fotograferen. Je kunt hem al wel beter fotograferen. Daar niet, maar daar wel.
Don't get me on there, Tom.
The sun's setting fast now, bringing out all the colours of the canyon, especially on the north rim.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, right through there.
One final shot as the sun literally goes down. It's Sunday morning. We're just on our way towards Page, the town of Page. But one last few minutes here at the Grand Canyon. Rather spectacular this morning. Not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful and peaceful. Just dramatic. And even just taking this video just does not do justice to what we can see in front of us. Down here we have some more people in the rafting on the river.
waiting to see them appear around the corner, but they haven't.
Sorry?
Waiting to see them come round the corner. The last one's only just gone out of sight.
I don't know.
We're on Lake Powell, near Page in Arizona.
I'm thinking, gosh, I hope she doesn't drop it.
This is the Colorado River we're actually running on, and the white layer you can see on the side of the cliff, where that changes to brown, that is the normal level of the water in Lake Powell. Lake Powell is the second largest man-made lake in the USA. And obviously the river we're on has come down through the Grand Canyon and it's pretty spectacular.
wash sand and debris this far down. You got a small boat you can get on there and walk out the other end.
Up above the bridge there where you see the mesa the city of Page now sits, that was a grazing area. All this land over here to the left belonged to the Navajo Nation. It still does, except for that one patch. The Navajo Nation traded that land for some sacred land in the Four Corners area, and that became then the construction camp. They built the bridge in Emeryville, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, then shipped it out here piece by piece, hill to Flagstaff, and then by truck to each side of the river. They began to build the dam from each side. When they got to the center, they found out they were 1/4 of an inch off. Years to fill Lake Powell for the first time. From 1963 until 1980, the lake was filling. Last time it was nearly full was in 1999. That was about 10 feet from full pool. Since that time, we have been as low as 153 feet, so at only 100 feet down right now. We feel fortunate to have the water that we have. We'll take anything that we can get. Glen Canyon Dam. If you have a chance to go over to the visitor center to the right of the bridge there, do it. They offer a free tour of the dam. One other feature I'd like to show was right over here to your right, this big rock right here, kind of a pointed rock. This is called Castle Rock. This was also mentioned in the writings of Father Escalante and Father Dominguez. It also played a part in a couple of Charlton Heston movies. One was 1963 version of The Greatest Story Ever Told.
Good morning, it's Monday morning and we've driven from the town of Page approximately 125 miles to the Monument Valley. You might see that the weather is broken, very dull and overcast, and it's been consistently raining for virtually the last 2 hours, but not to withstand that. It's an extremely impressive situation here. It's in the Navajo Indian Reservation, and we've had to pay $5 each to come in, and we're at a visitor centre. It's extremely impressive. We can actually drive our cars down this dirt road. You can see below us, you can see 1 or 2 cars on there, but just wait and see whether we will or not. Many of the famous Western films in the past have been filmed here, and in fact as we drove down the road a few minutes ago, we came across a film crew working on the side of the road, which held us up for a few minutes. Although they weren't doing a western, it seemed to be something in about the 1960s. But interesting. I'm sure this would be even more impressive if we had nice warm sunshine to lighten everything up. We are in Page still this morning, Tuesday morning. Sorry about the truck, but we've just travelled down from the hotel, which you can see there in the distance. And we just come down to have a look at the dam here. 1 second. I'm not sure of the height of this dam, but so this is the dam that has created Lake Powell, the second largest man-made lake in the USA, and this is the one that we went on a couple of evenings ago for a little cruise. Just have a look down in the gorge on the other side of the bridge. On the other side of the bridge, obviously, we have the river, and this is the Colorado River that proceeds on and down through the gorge here. This is obviously up above the Grand Canyon. We must be, well, I'm guessing 300 foot, I suppose, maybe 400 feet above the water. Beautiful morning this morning compared with yesterday, where it poured literally with rain the whole day when we travelled down to Monument Valley and all the way back again.
Won't let you click anymore, huh?
As you can see, the bridge is a pretty huge construction and just by itself. But, apparently this dam in front of us here took 3 years of continuous pouring of concrete in order to construct the dam. That's a very nice spot. I actually stand corrected. I've just discovered that the bridge here is in fact 710 feet high above the water level down here. There's people down there going to do some whitewater rafting. Again, we have the dam here, which from first to last took 80 years of construction, and when completed, apparently it took 17 years for the lake to actually fill with water. But again, as I said the other evening, you can see over here the white sort of tide mark on the side of the walls here, which is nominally 100 feet. So the water level is 100 feet below normal, but again due to lack of heavy snow up in the north of the country, the water level is what it is. Apparently that's the main source of water for this lake is melting snow water. We can just see here in the distance the marina where we went a couple of evenings ago for a little cruise. Again, it's just a stunning area.
On that date, the Secretary of the Interior notified the states that Lake Powell, stored behind Glen Canyon Dam, had filled for the first time. At that moment, the dreams of the framers of the Colorado River Storage Project were realized. Over a 17-year period, beginning in 1963, the waters of Lake Powell slowly filled to an eventual point of storing over 26 million acre-feet, an amazing 9 trillion gallons, to create the second largest reservoir in the country. Lake Powell has been called an intimate place because of the incredible numbers of side canyons which provide serenity and isolation to its visitors. Named for Major John Wesley Powell, the one-armed Civil War veteran who first explored the region and floated the Colorado River in 1869, Lake Powell was characterized by Sunset magazine as an immense fjord in the heart of the southwest Red Rock Canyon country. The Colorado River Basin stretches about 1,400 miles from the high mountains of Colorado and Wyoming to the Gulf of California in Mexico. Glen Canyon Dam is just above the halfway point in the river that divides the upper basin states of Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah from the lower basin states of Arizona, California, and Nevada. The Colorado River Storage Project dams, including Glen Canyon Dam in Arizona, Flaming Gorge Dam in Utah, Navajo Dam in New Mexico, and the Wayne N. Aspinall units Blue Mesa, Morrow Point, and Crystal Dams in Colorado, enables the upper basin states to manage their share of the mighty Colorado River. The total project is one of the most complex and extensive water projects in the world, and Glen Canyon Dam is the keystone of the system. The numbers associated with Glen Canyon Dam are staggering. The dam rises from the river bedrock to a height of 710 feet. Nearly 5 million cubic yards of concrete were used to build the dam, enough to build a 4-lane highway from Phoenix, Arizona to Chicago, Illinois. The installed hydropower plant capacity is more than 1.3 million kilowatts, enough to meet the power needs of nearly 2 million households. The 186-mile-long reservoir has an incredible shoreline of over 1,900 miles, more than the west coast of the United States. Studies indicate that Lake Powell has a life expectancy of many hundreds of years. Glen Canyon Dam and the Carl Hayden Visitor Center are open to the public for daily guided tours. Close to 1 million visitors a year are awed by this engineering marvel. Millions of people come from around the world each year to recreate on the lake, infusing about $500 million a year into the regional economies of Arizona and Utah. In the Grand Canyon, thousands of river runners now travel downstream on flows that the river guides can count on year-round. Prior to the dam, only a limited number of intrepid adventurers, numbering in the hundreds, had ever run the river through the Grand Canyon. And yet those numbers only tell a fraction of the story of Glen Canyon Dam. The full story of Glen Canyon Dam is one of service and adaptation. It is a story of meeting the water needs of many states while learning to adjust the dam's operations to exist in harmony with the downstream river environments of Glen and Grand Canyons. In 1922, the states agreed by means of a compact among them to divide the waters of the river between the upper and lower basins. To ensure that sufficient water is provided each year to the lower basin, the upper basin is obligated to deliver a minimum of 75 million acre-feet of water in any 10-year period to the lower basin. The measuring point for these deliveries is located 16 miles downstream of Glen Canyon Dam at Lee Ferry. In addition, a treaty with the Republic of Mexico signed in 1944 guarantees 1.5 million acre-feet of Colorado River water to our southern neighbors. Lake Powell provides about half of that requirement. Lake Powell provides the long-term carryover water storage that allows the upper Colorado River Basin states of Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah to use their share of the river, while also delivering the lower basin states of Arizona, California, and Nevada their share. During times of frequent droughts in the Southwest, this is especially critical. There may not always be enough water in the upper basin to provide for those deliveries to the lower basin and still allow Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah to use their shares of the river. Lake Powell is, in essence, a bank account of water to be used to guarantee water deliveries to the lower basin. Around that basic premise, many years of subsequent laws and agreements known as the Law of the River have been formed to bring order to what otherwise would be a chaotic management process. In addition to storing water, a secondary benefit of Glen Canyon Dam is the generation of hydropower. The proceeds from the sale of power are applied to the cost of the dam. Power revenues also repay sizable portions of the costs of 21 other water projects in Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah. To generate electricity at the dam, water must be in motion. When flowing water turns the blades in a turbine, the energy form is changed from flowing water to mechanical energy. The turbine turns a generator rotor, which then converts the mechanical energy into another energy form, electricity. Since water is the initial source of energy, it is called hydroelectric power, or hydropower for short. This is all possible because of the water stored behind the dam. The water to power the 8 generators is drawn from the reservoir and delivered to the power plant through large pipes called penstocks. Each penstock reduces in size from 15 feet to 14 feet in diameter as it enters the turbine. The water descends more than 400 feet at an incline of 60 degrees. After the water passes through the turbine, it returns to the Colorado River unchanged to serve other downstream needs. The turbines are both sophisticated and massive. Each of the 8 units weighs nearly 46 tons and requires about 4,150 cubic feet per second of water to operate at full capacity. When all 8 generators are operating at full output, about 15 million gallons of water passes through the 8 penstocks each minute. The hydroelectric power produced at Glen Canyon Dam serves people living in cities, towns, and rural locations in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, Wyoming, and Utah. In the early years of operation, Glen Canyon Dam provided all the expected benefits in terms of water storage and hydropower generation, but not without impacts to downstream resources. The fluctuating releases from the dam, dictated by changing power market demands, contributed to the erosion of the beaches and siltation of backwaters. Vegetation along the river increased, attracting birds and mammals, including the endangered southwestern willow flycatcher. River runners frequently found themselves stranded with their boats on the shore as the river level dropped. The cold, clear water released from the dam changed the river. A thriving trout fishery was created, but the cold water created a hostile environment for native suckers and chubs. Today, most of those warm water native fish are restricted to river segments below side channel rivers and streams, such as the Little Colorado River or Kanab Creek. By the mid-1980s, scientific studies conducted by the Bureau of Reclamation indicated that alternative ways to operate Glen Canyon Dam needed to be studied and long-term changes eventually made. In 1989, the Bureau of Reclamation, in partnership with other federal, state, and Native American tribal governments, began the largest environmental impact study in the history of the agency. Current and future water management needs had to be balanced with new and creative ways to manage the dam for the benefit of downstream resources to ensure the long-term health of the Grand Canyon. As a result, Glen Canyon Dam operations changed in the 1990s. Now, in addition to meeting traditional water and power needs, Glen Canyon Dam is operated in a more environmentally sensitive manner. New operating criteria protects the ecological resources of the Grand Canyon. Flow parameters concerning the minimum and maximum releases from the dam and the rate at which the flows may fluctuate are in place. The cost of the studies that led to operational changes were paid for by the customers who purchased Glen Canyon Dam's hydropower. Revenue from the sale of power also continues to fund most of the ongoing research and scientific monitoring of the dam's operations and impacts in the Grand Canyon. Key to dam operations is a practice called adaptive management. Managers, in consultation with the public, scientists, state and Native American tribal governments, hydropower customers, and a variety of special interest groups, constantly monitor the downstream impacts to determine if adjustments need to be made in operations. In addition to adapting operations, special opportunities may be found to use flows from the dam to achieve positive changes in restoring the downstream conditions. The most notable example occurred in the spring of 1996, when the Secretary of the Interior triggered an intentional flood from the dam to mimic the historic floods that used to run through the Grand Canyon. Prior to Glen Canyon Dam, melting snow in the upper river basins led to raging spring floods through Glen, Marble, and Grand Canyons. The evolutionary history of the ecosystem was based upon annual disturbance patterns that were lost with the advent of the dam. The beach habitat building flow, as it is referred to, was intended to scour vegetation along the channel banks, redeposit sandbars along the river, and restore backwater habitats believed important to the humpback chub, an endangered species of fish, in much the same way as the historic floods did. In general, the results were positive. Scientific designs of future experimental flood releases will likely look at higher magnitude and shorter duration releases, as well as being conducted at different times of the year. Through careful monitoring before, during, and after the flood event, scientists and managers began to understand how the force of the river may occasionally be used to benefit downstream resources. Following the test flood, managers shifted their attention towards understanding how to maintain the benefits created by the flood and determining how often such flooding should take place. As the years go by, we will continue to learn more about the relationship between our management actions and the downstream resources. The objective is clear: to continue to receive the water and power benefits provided by Glen Canyon Dam and operate in balance and harmony with the river's ecosystem. As a futurist, John Wesley Powell had a good eye. In the years after his river trips, he campaigned vigorously for laws to enable the settlement of the West through the development of the abundant but erratic water resources of the region. He also, in a way, foresaw the concept of adaptive management when he stressed that cooperative ventures to build water projects were the only effective means by which water could be controlled and distributed. In today's world, cooperative ventures includes the full range of interests, from water and power customers to environmental and recreational supporters, in coordination with federal and state agencies and Native American tribal governments. In the end, Glen Canyon Dam is all about water management, providing the American Southwest with the most vital ingredient required for life: water. In the 1920s, former Texas Governor Pat Neff wrote, "Water is the most abundant of all created commodities. It is older than the human race. It is known to the language of every land and has followed the adventurous footsteps of man around and above the world. It is indestructible. Not since the Spirit moved on the face of the waters and they were gathered into the seas has there been one drop lost. It has been the one commodity of the world that has most made the human race akin. It alone bridges the seeming chasms between the classes and the masses. The rich and the poor, the loved and forsaken, the learned and the ignorant, the aristocratic and the democratic, meet on a common level at the water fountain, brewed in the distilleries of the skies, poured by nature's hand from the cistern of the clouds, purified by the percolations of the ages through the hidden sands of the earth, and brought forth by the hand of man to glisten in the sunlight. It is indeed the beverage of life. Every activity in the arid Southwest is water dependent. As such, water clearly is the lifeblood of the West. Glen Canyon Dam and Reclamation's employees who operate it proudly serve as the stewards of Lake Powell, managing and delivering water today and in the centuries yet to come.
Oh. We've moved on from the dam and the bridge, as you can see in the distance. I just travelled on another couple of miles to a scenic overlook of the lake, and just look at this. The only blot on the horizon is this power station you can see in the distance. It's the only one we've seen, but just look at this. And this is the marina in front of us, where again we went for that little boat trip a couple of evenings ago. So we're just about to leave Lake Powell and the town of Page and head towards Zion National Park and Bryce Canyons National Park. We are in Zion National Park this morning, which is about 150 miles from Page, where we were recently, and we've just stayed in the city of St. George last night, which is again about 40 miles away. But we are inside the park, and the view in front of us is called the Court of the Patriarchs.
What are you waiting for?
This particular mountain in front of us is Abraham. The one in the centre here is Isaac, and the one on the right hand side is Jacob. They're quite tall. They're actually about 4,000 feet above where we're standing at the moment. But it's just a fantastic view in every direction. Cars are not allowed inside the canyon. We've had to park at a visitor centre and take a shuttle bus. We've actually bought a pass, because you have to pay to come into these national parks, but we've bought a pass for $80, which gives us free entry to all the national parks in the entire USA for 1 year. So quite good value. Anyway, let's walk on. We've moved on up the canyon to an area known as Weeping Rock. You can hear a helicopter in the distance. The helicopter is bringing up cement for rectification of some of the hiking trails that are obviously very badly worn with a number of people that come up here hiking. Beautiful spot. Very cool this morning, probably in the mid-50s at the moment. We've walked up about a quarter of a mile from the road, and this is what we've come to see. You can see the water is seeping out of the rocks above. It's obviously percolating down through the rocks from the last rainfall a few days ago. And to our left here you can see it's created quite a beautiful feature. You can just see the water dripping down from the rocks on top of me. But just look at this view. Absolutely stunning. It's tiny. Yes, there's a helicopter there, but you can just about see it.
Shower? Yeah.
Well, whilst having a good look around, we've suddenly noticed some people climbing. I don't know whether you can see them on the screen here. But, rather them than me. Might have a bit of a better view of them in the minute. Well, as you can see, there's a lovely river running through here. This is the Virgin River. But one of the problems experienced here is flash floods. And because the canyons are so narrow, etc., it can cause havoc in a few seconds, literally. So everywhere there are signs of what to do in case of storms and flash floods. But you can see how vertical and how steep these canyon walls are. I'll just do a 360-degree turn. This area was the home for the Paiute Indians, who lived in this canyon for thousands of years. And back to where we started. We've travelled on a few further miles and we've stopped because we have in front of us here a herd of American buffalo. What is there? There's probably 100 or so there. Nice sight to see. These obviously were buffalo were heavily slaughtered in the late 1800s, almost to the point of extinction. I understand making quite a comeback now. Very interesting. We're driving back through the park and this mesa in front of us. It's called checkerboard mesa, and you can see all the natural vertical cracks and horizontal strata lines, which gives it this checkerboard effect.
They introduced the shuttle then in 2000. Really?
We've just moved on a little bit further. We just pulled in just to give you a general flavour of the park. It actually looks like sand, but in fact it's literally rock. Again, we've just travelled on another 2 or 3 miles, and we've just gone through this small tunnel in front of us. There's another larger tunnel in a minute, about just over 1 mile in length. But just to look at this scenery, it's just absolutely stunning. Again, I'll just pan around literally 360 degrees, but even the camera just can't do this scenery justice. And back to the tunnel. We've just driven through the longer tunnel that I mentioned, just over 1 mile long, and up here you can see sort of windows that you lead into the tunnel. There's another one here, but just look at this. Again, almost vertical sheer walls. And then here you've got almost a natural amphitheatre that's come from the weather beaten rocks, and I'm just going to pan through 180 degrees again to give you just this spectacular view. The road zigzags down through the canyon and to where we were earlier this morning. Just absolutely beautiful. Again, as we said earlier, the camera just doesn't do justice to how spectacular the views are. And back to the windows on the tunnel. Well, we're in another part of the Zion National Park, and this is called the Zion Kolob Canyons, and the temperature's dropped again. It's about low 60s, and just some wonderful views. These mountains in front of us are just over sort of 8,000 feet high. It's a shame the sun's not in the right place to get the most dramatic effect, but I'll give you a flavour of it, and we'll take some more views in a few minutes. There's our wind again.
Yes.
We've moved back down the canyon. Some tremendous views though. The wind's getting up, as you can probably hear. I'm having a job to keep the camera steady. Just come even further down the canyon on our return trip, but this is just quite spectacular. You can see that the trees are just starting to turn. Some beautiful colours here, but just look at this scenery. Very narrow canyon going up through there. So dark that the sunlight's not getting down into it. Just spectacular. This is just absolutely stunning. It's one of the best views I've ever seen. Well, we're almost out of the canyon now, but one sort of final look around. Main reason is that some of the trees down here in this valley are just turning a beautiful shade of red. Just you can see them down here. Silence is deafening from one point of view. You can just hear the wind rustling in the trees. We've travelled on to Cedar Breaks National Park. We haven't actually arrived there, but we've just been travelling up this mountain road, and we've just stopped because of the scenery. We must be about 7,000 feet high now, but just these glorious views, and you can see as we get higher the colour of the trees are changing to their autumn gold colours. Just absolutely spectacular. Well, we've arrived at the top of the drive up to Cedar Breaks, and this is the start of the park. This is called Point Supreme, and we're standing at 10,350 feet. And again, the camera just cannot do this justice. Just driven on another couple of miles to a viewpoint known as Sunset View. That's where we were just a few minutes ago.